Hey everyone, welcome back to the reactjs course. So in this video, we'll be exploring about the next hook that is called as the useMemo hook. And if you find this interesting, let's get started right away. So the use memo returns a memoized value. So think of memoization as caching a particular value so that we do not want to recalculate that value again and again. So the React use memo is used to improvise the performance of the application by stopping the functions from running needlessly. And the React use memo is run only once when the variable in the dependency array changes. Okay, so the syntax of a use memo is similar to that of a use effect, and we'll be understanding the use memo hook with the help of a better example. And let's get started. So over here inside my app.js, let me initialize my counter as well as my to-do list. Okay, so let's say const counter comma set counter equals to use state with the initial value of 0, that is for the counter. And next let me initialize my to-do list. So let's say const to-dos comma set to-dos equals to use state, and for the to-dos we'll be passing an initially empty array because at the initial stage there are no to-dos created, and we will be making use of an expensive function. Okay, so we will understand why we're using this and how the use memo is useful over here. So let's say const calculation equals to expensive function, and this expensive function is going to take an argument, let's say the counter value itself, that is whatever is there over here. So let's say counter. Yeah, so I think we have done this. Okay, expensive function is not defined. We will do that in just a minute. So let's initialize our div over here in the return block, and firstly let us map our to-dos. So let's say to-dos dot map. For every to-do you're going to return a h3 tag. Okay, so inside the h3 tag we are going to simply access the to-do whatever is there inside a to-dos list, and let's provide a key value to our h3. So it's going to be the index. Okay, so that part is done. So over here let's initialize a second div, and over here we are going to say the counter value. We're going to initialize a counter value. So let's say counter, and let's get access to it, which is stored inside of state, that is this one. Okay, so just beneath the h3 button let us create a button. So this button is used to increase the counter value. Okay, so let's say click me, and now let us initialize the on click event to the button. So let's say on click equals to increment. Okay, so let's define the increment function right at the top over here. So const increment equals to arrow function. So now we are going to access our set counter, which is the function or the modifier. Okay, we are going to say access that particular value at that time and then increase it by 1. Okay, so this is the way you increase the counter value by 1. Okay, so now after this, so just before we map our to-dos, we are going to have a button. Okay, so this is going to say add to do, right? So save the file once, and if we press on add to do we should add something to our to-do list. So for that let's initialize on click event for here also. So on click, this is going to say add to dos. Okay, so let's define our add to dos over here. So let's say const add to dos equals to an arrow function, and over here let's access our set to dos. Let's access the initial value that we have at that particular time, and we're going to spread that value, and then we're going to say new to do added. So this function over here is pretty much accessing whatever is there initially at that stage, and then we are concatenating by adding this string, that is new to do added. So this to do is added to the to do list. Okay, so save the file. So now let us define our expensive function. Okay, right at the top. So let's say const expensive function equals to an arrow function. So this is going to take a argument. Okay, so this, let's say number. So over here inside our expensive function we are going to run a for loop. Okay, so for let I equals to 0, I is less than a very huge number, and then let's increment our counter. So inside the for loop, we're going to say num plus equals to 1. We're simply adding the value num by 1. Okay, so at the last, we're going to say return whatever the number is. Okay, yeah, so that part is done. So save the file once. So just beneath the button that is in the counter part, we're going to say a h3 value, and we're going to access the calculation. So we are returning the number inside our expensive function, and that number is stored inside the calculation variable. Okay, so we are accessing that over here. So let's save the file. Okay, so we have done the increment function, defined the add to do's function, and we have add to do button as well as the click me button. Okay, so now let's give it a try how our web page is looking. So let's go check it out. Okay, so as you can see, we have the first text coming up, that is React, and then we have add to do button, and then also we have a counter which shows the value of the counter. We have a click me button which used to increase the counter value, and then we have the expensive function calculation over here. So now let me press on the add to do button. Okay, so there you go. So it took some time, okay, to show the add to do's. Okay, that is because when we press on the add to do button, everything is re-rendered inside our app.js component. So even the expensive function is again calculated. So for that reason, it's going to take some time and then show us the to do's. Okay, let's give that another try. Yeah, so as you can see, again we are getting the new to do added into our to do list, but it's taking some time, a delay of let's say 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds, and then it's showing us the output. Okay, the reason being, yeah, as I told, it's going to re-render whatever is there inside the return block, and again this is triggered off the expensive function. So for that reason, even though the counter is not getting increased, for the same value it's showing the same result. Okay, so now let me press on click me, that is the counter is increased to 1, and it should again run the expensive function, and now it's working fine, but again it's taking that delay because we have a huge number over there. Okay, so click me and new to do added. Yeah, again it's taking that delay. So for that reason, now we're going to make use of the useMemo hook, okay, and see how our app performance changes. So over here, let's say const calculation equals to useMemo, and let's import useMemo from React, and this is going to take a function, and over here inside a useMemo we're going to say expensive function of the counter. So as I told, the syntax of useMemo is similar to that of a useEffect. So this useMemo is going to have something called as the dependency array. So inside the dependency array, we're going to pass the counter. Okay, so we're going to say whenever the counter value changes, then only we have to run our expensive function. So previously what used to happen is whenever we press on the add to do button, then also the expensive function was used to run. So that's the reason we were getting that delay. So now let's give a try. So let's remove this line that's not required. Okay, so now we are using the useMemo hook, and then we are initializing the expensive function, and in the dependency array we have the counter. So save the file once. Let's come back over here, refresh the web page. So now if I press on add to do, you should not see that delay because the counter variable has not changed, right? So we're getting very fast, okay, and the performance is really good too. So let's press on click me now. Yeah, now it's going to take that time because we have a huge number and it's working fine. Yeah, so that's the way we use our useMemo hook inside of a React application. So as I told, it's used to increase the performance, and it's used to stop the function from running needlessly whenever it's not required. Yeah, I think that's it for this video, and then let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.